Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Brian, and I'd like to welcome you to the first episode of a series that was inspired by one of the people I've subscribed to, and his name is the Cartoon Fiend, and he has a series of videos he does that review cartoons from the 80s and the 90s. Well, I want to do something similar, and I don't call it the reviews, I call it the flashbacks. And I don't mean any offense, Cartoon Fiend. I don't mean anything offensive, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about some of the series. Now, some of the series that Cartoon Fiend talked about, he doesn't really know much about the show, with the exception of catching a few episodes. I will be able to help in that department by telling you a little bit more about the shows. But anyway, let's get into the shows. And start off with a show that he talked about, because he said he was getting sick and tired, even though he liked the shows, but he was getting sick and tired of Disney milking out its Duck franchise with shows like DuckTales, Darkwing, and Mighty Ducks and Quack Pack. Well, I'd like to start out with a show that he feels is probably one of the best shows Disney has made, and that is TaleSpin. Now, just a little quick trivia. If you think Cartoon Fiend, I know you're probably watching this, if you think he was sick and tired of characters like Launchpad being switched from show to show, how do you think he would have felt that if he'd known Launchpad was originally supposed to be the main character for TaleSpin? It's true. Look it up online. It's exactly what it was. Launchpad was supposed to be the character on TaleSpin. But fortunately, it was changed to bring in the characters from the Jungle Book. Now, basically what this is, basically the series is set in the sort of a combination of the 40s and the 90s. That's what it's set in. It's set in like a tropical world, sort of a tropical city called Cape Suzette. Now, to make a long story short, what happens is that Baloo ends up befriending a young 14, 15-year-old, 13-year-old kid named Kit Cloudcooker, who used to be a pirate. And along the way, they end up befriending new characters like Rebecca Cunningham and her daughter Molly. Now, the other characters like Shere Khan is now a ruthless businessman, and King Louie, is now a owner of his own nightclub on Louie's Island, on his own self-named island, I should say. So, anyway, getting back to what the show is about. What happens is Baloo ends up losing his cargo service to Rebecca Cunningham because he had fallen behind on a lot of payments, and the bank had repossessed and bought his business and sold it to Rebecca, who renamed it Hire for Hire. Now, throughout the series, one of Baloo's main goals was to try to buy his Sea Duck back, because not only did he lose his business, he also lost his plane. So his plane and his business now belong to Rebecca. And Baloo, right now, in the first, I don't know how many episodes, kind of feels as though, okay, fine, she can keep the business, but I want my plane. And in one of the first episodes, which is part of the miniseries, Plunder and Lightning, what happens is he does end up ends up finding some treasure on the pirate's airship, because him and Kit have to go rescue Rebecca and Molly. But he ends up finding enough treasure to the point that he gives it to Rebecca and says, hey, look, you can keep the business, but this payment I'm giving you, it's for my plane. I'm taking my plane back. So basically, he takes his plane back, but ends up coming back to not only help Kit out when it's revealed that Kit didn't really betray Baloo and Rebecca and Molly, but actually, was acting as if he was to save them. And make a long story short, he ends up helping, Kit and Rebecca defeat the pirates and save Cape Suzette. Now, the one thing about TaleSpin was the fact that it was actually one of the very first dramatic series that Disney ever had. Now, a lot of people might say, well, TaleSpin wasn't the first dramatic series they had. Gargoyles was. And Gargoyles, yeah, I'll get into that series later on at a future date. but TaleSpin actually was the first dramatic series, because if you think about it, yes, it had its comedic episodes, it had its adventurous episodes, but it also had mostly a lot of dramatic episodes. I mean, sure, a lot of shows before it, like Rescue Rangers and DuckTales and Gummy Bears and even the Wuzzles had their dramatic moments, but TaleSpin had more than any of them combined at this time. As a matter of fact, it even had more musical numbers in its pilot than Rescue Rangers ever did. I mean, you had a musical number in, I think, part 1. I think you had a musical number, I think, in part 2 or 3, which was Home is Where the Heart Is, which unfortunately, that beautiful song, Home is Where the Heart Is, got cut out by Disney in its 4-part miniseries syndication run. But when you watch it uncut, and I hope somebody does have the uncut movie there around. If you do, let me know. I'd like to see it. But what I was saying is that when you watch the pilot movie in its uncut format, only there can you see certain scenes that were cut out, and that beautiful song called Home is Where the Heart Is, which Rebecca sings to her daughter Molly the first night, on the night after they meet Baloo and Kit, and they have to end up staying at Higher for Higher. Now, like I said, the emotion from the characters, the voice actors and actresses that voice the characters really put a lot of emotions into them, really made them believable. I mean, if you have not seen this series, I suggest you find it, go to eBay, go on Amazon, buy the series, do something. You will enjoy it. Believe me. Believe me. And the fact that the animation is superb quality. It's almost like, and I looked at this when I first watched it, it's like watching a 30-minute feature film. That's what it feels like. Because the animation is just superb, the stories are superb, and but TaleSpin does not succeed without its flaws, though. See, a lot of shows will have controversial episodes or controversial moments. TaleSpin is one of them. You see, ever since the 95 bombings in Oklahoma City, and mostly ever since 9/11, a lot of shows, including animation shows by Disney, had to cut out certain episodes because of the theme that the story was centered on, because either of the plot of the story or because of who the villain was. A quick example of this is in Bonkers. I guess you could call it the season 1 finale, where he transitions from having Lucky Paquette as an partner to having Miranda Wright as a partner. The villain in that episode is known as Fireball Frank, and he's described as a mad bomber / terrorist. And basically, this episode was shown, I think, after one episode where they showed some classic raw cartoons of Bonkers in a package. But unfortunately, it was cut out after mostly after 95, and more importantly, after 9/11. The same thing with TaleSpin. TaleSpin had 2 episodes that were cut out. The Flying Dupes, which involved a bomb in a package, and Lost Horizons, which was sort of a parody to Pearl Harbor, but because of the way it was being shown and described, it was cut out after 9/11. Fortunately, I was able to get the episode on tape and transfer it to DVD before that happened. But basically, those are the only controversial and flawed moments that TaleSpin had. Overall, it is a very good series. It's got a lot of good stories, a lot of great emotion, great voice acting by the actors and actresses to the characters, bringing them to life. I mean, I'll give you examples of where those emotions can be found, how they feel so lifelike. Mommy for a Day, Her Chance to Dream, and I'm trying to think of the episode right now. It's something like, it starts with Storm, or Stormy Weather. Those are the kind of episodes you want to see, because they show great emotional from the characters, make them very believable. I give credit to Disney for putting the voice actors who voiced them in there. But overall, great series, tremendous. I give it a 10 out of 10. And Cartoon Fiend, you're right, it's one of the rare gems that Disney has. And I hope they bring out Volume 3 of the DVD box set. I would really like to see that. And I'm sure a lot of generations nowadays would too. So until next time, I'm Brian saying God bless, take care, and I hope you enjoyed my first episode of Cartoon Flashback. And Cartoon Fiend, thanks for the inspiration.